I am building a new bike and I'm about to take you through everything I'm about to put on it. Guys, welcome back to the What Life. Let's get into it. So whilst it may not be cheaper to build your own bike, the nice thing about doing it this way is the fact that you get to customize every single part of what you end up putting together, which isn't always the case when you either buy it online or through a dealer. Sometimes you are stuck with a particular stem length and you have to go aftermarket. When you do it this way, it can end up in the wash coming out a little bit more expensive, but you do get everything custom created and designed to be perfect for your needs. In theory, anyway. So this is not a no budget build. Obviously, money is a constraint when you are building your bike. And this is probably a good point to say that I don't monetize my channel. I don't make any money from ad revenue because I don't have any adverts on my videos. Unless they do well, in which case YouTube puts an ad on them and then they make the money because I don't see any of it. I'm not trying to sell you anything in this video. I'm just going to talk you through everything that I am putting on my bike, but some things have been provided by companies that I do work with. There is only one discount code that I can provide you, which is for Winspace, for the Lun wheels and for the frames, which I will drop down below. But again, I'm just trying to build a bike, guys, and you are hopefully enjoying following along. So let's get into it. My buddy has a Specialized Tarmac SLA Pro, which is the entry-level version, and he's running that with the SRAM Force group set. I'm going to try and build up a bike that is reasonably competitive with that. And I will take you through the cost of everything that I'm putting on it and what I'm putting on it. Some products will be a little bit above and some products will be a little bit below what comes on the Specialized SLA Pro. And we'll see whether it comes out in the wash when we eventually take them both for a ride in another video. So let's kick things off with the frame that I will be using, which is the Winspace SLC 3.0. Now, I actually don't have a white sheet paper on this, so I don't actually know all the stats. I've just been hearing things. And apparently they claim that this frame, or the medium version of this frame, weighs around 700 grams. I have weighed mine, taking off the braison, the rear derailleur hanger, and the bolts. Usually when they weigh a frame, they can do it even before even painting it, but they would take most of these things off anyway. This frame in particular is a size large, and it has come up at 760 grams. The price for this is $1,980. Don't quote me on that because I haven't actually been told that. This is just what I've heard from Grant over at GC Performance. So one of the key features of this frame is that it is a BB86 press fit bottom bracket, and obviously that will play a role when I take you through which bottom bracket we're going to put in it. Let's just weigh it now with everything on it, size large. So my size large frame comes out at 802 grams, which is exactly what I weighed it as when I first got it the other day. Right, what's next? So I'm going to be using a cycling ceramic bottom bracket, and it is a BB86. It's press fit, so you're going to have to press both sides of the bottom bracket into the frame independently, and the spindle goes through the middle. So let's see what this is going to weigh. So the cycling ceramic bottom bracket is 63 grams. I don't know a huge amount about bottom brackets, but I usually, when it comes to these things, think that the best thing you can do is actually go for the highest quality that you can afford. Personally, I don't think it's one of the things that you should cheap out on. You don't want it to creak, and the quality of the bottom bracket combined with the quality of the frame is going to give you the best opportunity to get a really good bike that's not going to give you any problems down the line. You also want an incredibly efficient drivetrain, so you don't want any dirt or grime getting into your bottom bracket. Like I said, I don't know a huge amount, but I do know that it is probably one of the places where you should invest some money. So this is the saddle that I am going to be using. It's the Prologo NAGO R4 PAZ. And I actually think this is going to be better than the stock saddle that comes when you buy a SLA Pro. And this weighs 164 grams. I actually think this is one of the areas where I do think we're going to get the better of the Specialized. And to be honest with you, I think it is very cool. So before we dive into the drivetrain, let's take a look at the cassette that I have got. This is a Neutron one-piece steel alloy cassette. Obviously, the last two rings are going to be aluminium and the rest is going to be steel, and it is created from one piece of steel and then bonded to one piece of aluminium. So let's see what this weighs. This is a 3411 and it uses a Shimano hub body so that you can basically swap it in and out with any Shimano hub. And it weighs in at 184 grams, and then we'll put the lock cap on. 189 grams. So if you are interested in cassettes, I do know that Trace Velo covers them all the time. He's got some great videos on different types of cassettes, different ways that they are built, and it also covers a lot of the one-piece steel alloy cassettes. This is one of those ones where the connection point doesn't run all the way through the cassette. It's kind of joined by a plastic piece in the middle. So you get a connection point at the front and the rear of the hub body. It doesn't go all the way down the hub body, and you can kind of see. So whether that plays a role in how it drives, we'll find out. But this actual cassette costs about $300. So it's certainly not cheap. I didn't intend on spending that much money, but I thought it looked very cool and I would kind of give it a go. And they were nice enough to give me a bit of a discount. So this is a Neutron cassette. Other than that, I don't know a huge amount about them. I guess I'm happy to be a bit of a guinea pig. So before we dive into the group set, let me just take you through the wheels that we're going to be putting on. We've got the Lun HYOERs, the D67, and guys, I can feel you rolling your eyes when I tell you I'm building a super light climbing bike and then I use 67mm wheels. Unfortunately, I do live in the UK and the climbing opportunities are the Chilterns, of which there aren't too many climbs that are longer than about 5 or 6 minutes, if that. So I do like to have a bit of style over function sometimes. I think this is just part of it. I always find that if you build yourself a bike that you actually want to ride because you love the look of it, you are more likely to enjoy the whole experience. So even though I could have got a nice thin set of wheels, I thought, you know what? I kind of just want to look good for photos at the same time because let's face it guys, I'm not the best cyclist on the planet. So these are the new Lun HYOERs with a 23mm internal width, which takes them 2mm wider than the old set. So it doesn't matter what tire you put on it, it is going to come out a little bit wider. And I guess in theory or in practice does make it a little bit more aerodynamic. I will say though that it will have peak torque going crazy with the way that these spokes are integrated into the hub on the side pull. I know that he has nightmares about these things. This particular set of wheels has slightly wider spokes as well, which should make them a little bit more aerodynamic. We'll go into the wheels a little bit later. We will check the weight of them in a second, but I will also say that they come tubeless ready with the rim tape and a tubeless valve already installed, and we are going to be running these tubeless. Time to weigh them. 855 grams for the rear wheel. We'll try and do both at the same time without breaking anything. Whoa, I am good at that. 1,497 grams for the pair. These have the tubeless valves installed. They're running a Shimano hub body. Other than that, they've got rim tape on, so it's a pretty reasonable weight for a slightly deeper wheel. The front wheel is a little bit more shallow than the back wheel, but they're both 23mm internals. Whilst we're at it, we might as well dive on to the tyres. We're going to be using the Challenge Criterium RS's. I don't know why I've really fallen in love with this tyre, but I have. I have a set on my other bike, and we're going to go with nice black tyres. They can be quite hard to get onto the bike, but for some reason, I don't know, I find them just, I really like them. That's all I can really give you for it. I'm going to be running the 28C tyres, I think on the 23mm internals. They're going to kind of end up being a little bit wider than that, which again is obviously a good thing if you are into your tyre aerodynamics. 254 grams, obviously we'll times that by 2, so 508 grams. For the pair, obviously I have to whack some sealant in, which will then bump the weight up a little bit on the wheels. But oof, I don't know, look, I really like this tyre. Can be quite hard to get onto the rims, but once it's on, I've never had any problems. And I've actually only kind of punctured once in a year of using these on my other bike. Right, so let's get into the bulk of it. Outside of the frame, the thing that's probably most important is the group set that you end up putting on your bike. And guys, we are going to be using the Wheeltop EDS TX. And I know what you're thinking, how can you build up a bike to compete against a specialized SL8 Pro and then use a group set that is more entry level? Well, mostly for exactly that reason. I do need to basically check to see how I find this. I have the SRAM Force group set, the exact same one that comes on the SL8 Pro on my other bike, and I am going to have to pull off the cranks and the chainring, the front chainring and the cranks, plus the power meter off my other bike to get this bike up and running. So the cranks, chainring and power meter on the SRAM Force actually retails for about £800. We're then going to be finishing off the build with the Wheeltop, the EDS. I think this is one of the points on the bike that is actually potentially going to change the whole feel of it. But the nice thing is that I do know that I can actually then just pull my SRAM group set off my other bike if I need to swap it back out if I'm not getting on very well with this. There are a few advantages to running the Wheeltop. One of which is the fact that I can change the speed of the bike. So I could be running a 7-speed, or I could take it up to, I think it almost goes up to 14-speed bike, which I think is quite nice. You have that ability to change your rear cassette, change your chain, and then kind of just, you've basically got an entirely new drivetrain. So let's take a little bit closer look at this. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I do actually need to test this system out, and I'm not too worried about doing it on a nice new build, because I'm kind of optimistic that I don't mind building up a bike. I don't mind going through the processes of setting something up to see how it works. Plus it runs on a system that is not too dissimilar to SRAM, in that it has the batteries built into the front and the rear mech, so I can just bolt them onto the bike. And then in theory, once we've done a little bit of indexing, we should be good to go. There is one thing on this system that I don't particularly love before we even get stuck into it, which is the covers for the battery charger port can be a bit finicky. You can't just close them up, which to me insinuates it could lead to trouble down the line in wet and not quite so nice conditions, because you are basically leaving the battery charging port a little bit exposed. But luckily I only really like to ride in nice weather, so I still need to see how this goes. So let's weigh the front and the rear derailleur. So the front and rear derailleur comes in at 525 grams, but you have to remember that both of them have batteries attached to them. So I don't have to mount a battery anywhere within the bike. So I actually don't know whether that's good or bad, but that's basically what we're dealing with. And obviously once we do bar tape and we do a bunch of other stuff to the bike, you know, it's not just going to be the weight of everything that we've weighed today that is going to come out as a little bit heavier, but we are still trying to build a reasonably lightweight bike. And again, we do have to worry about the quality of things because I want to be competitive with the SL8 Pro. These are the levers for the Wheeltop, and if we weigh those right and left at 446 grams. Okay, and then the last thing to do is to weigh the brake calipers and the brake hoses. The design of the brake calipers are not quite as sexy as some of the other brands. The Shimano, the SRAM brakes do look quite nice. These have a slightly different look and perhaps show you just a little bit that this is more of an entry level group set. But do you know what? I've got no problems with that. I don't mind using things to find out how good they are or how well they work, how easy they are to set up. And I'm kind of willing to do it, but I will say that what I am going to do is probably use a slightly cheaper bar tape in case it comes, you know, a month or so down the line and I decide that I actually want to swap it all back out and go for a full SRAM Force build. So let's weigh the two calipers and hoses. I'm quite looking forward to building this one up though, because building a group set, or, you know, I think some people have referred to this as like an upgrade group set because you're going to need your own cranks and chainring. In which case, if you are running a mechanical group set, you can buy this. And I think it ranges in price from $700 to $800, or it's around about that figure. So you can pretty much upgrade a mechanical bike for a reasonable good price, and then we just basically need to figure out how good it is when it comes to actually functioning. Rough weight for it is 327 grams for the brake calipers. I mean, obviously the brake hoses are a little bit all over the place, so it might weigh a little bit more than that. We'll obviously find out when we build up the entire bike, hopefully tomorrow. So one thing that I think that I am definitely going to improve upon when it comes to competing against the SL8 is the one-piece bar and stem. Now, I'm not saying that the bar and stem that you get when you buy the SL8 Pro is bad by any means, but what I am saying is that the Winspace Zero SL bars, I really like them, and there's a few key features to them. This particular set, we have a 115mm stem and they're 380 width. They are slightly flared, so you end up with the drops being slightly wider than the hoods, and the hoods are pointed in slightly so that you can basically twist your levers in a little bit. You do get a little mounting point under the front, and that will come with a little kind of GoPro Wahoo, and also that will come with a bike computer and a GoPro mount that you can kind of basically do both for, Winspace being a very kind of social media / YouTube friendly bike brand. But I do think the integrated bar and stem is really going to add to the style of the bike, and I think what I've tried to do is make the touch points of my bike quite high quality. My hands touch the hoods, my arse sits on the seat, and my feet go in the pedals. So we've got the Lun HYOER pedals on the SRAM Force cranks and chainring. I've got the SL0 bars, and then I have the Prologo saddle. So the touch points I'm hoping are going to be kind of high quality. I also think we've got a really good bottom bracket, and then the frame itself we will obviously have to see once we've built it up, but it's got a round seat post, so a bit more compliance in the seat post itself. So whilst it might not have the aerodynamics of the SL8, I think we might have a bit more compliance, and if it is a nice lightweight bike, who knows? We'll see where it comes out in the wash. Let's just weigh these bad boys for you very quickly. 359 grams. These cost about $290, and I'll be honest with you, I really like them. They're the same set of bars that I run on my other bike, my T1550. So the last thing we're going to go into is a bike computer. Guys, I know this isn't part of a bike build, and yes, it's a bit cheeky because Majin have sent me this bike computer. This is the C606, and it costs around $220, I think. But I want to do it because it comes in at a pretty reasonable price, and I've been riding with it for the last few days just to kind of get a feel for it, and I'm probably going to use it in conjunction with the new build just to get used to it and see whether, or just see how good it is. Might as well weigh it because we're in that kind of vibe of just weighing things. So 106 grams. I know that technically it doesn't count as part of the build, but I do want to kind of commit to using it so that I can see whether it's any good, because at that kind of value, I think it just beats out some of the more Western brands like the Wahoos and the Garmins that just cost a load more money. And I had a friend message me literally today asking if I could recommend a bike computer. And even when you look at some of the entry levels in terms of the bigger brands, they are just very expensive. So I am curious to know what you do get for your money. Again, that has been provided to me by the brand, but I am going to give you my very honest, just general user experience of someone who likes riding a bike and whether they get on with it or not. So that is it. That is pretty much everything that I'm going to be using for this new build, and hopefully in the next few days I'll get the chance to build it up. I will be doing the build myself, so I will be doing all the mechanics. I am not the most competent bike mechanic, but I am willing to give it a go, and I've never done a press fit bottom bracket before. So if I can do it, I'm pretty sure anyone can, and I will be taking you guys along on that journey with me. Once we've got it all built up, I will then get the chance to ride it against my friend's SL8 Pro, and we'll see kind of how things come out in the wash. I have tried to be a little bit tactical with this and work with what I have to create a bike that is going to be, at least in some senses, reasonably competitive. And if not, guys, we will just find that out. Maybe I get nowhere near to building a bike that's anywhere kind of close to what an SL8 performs like. It might not even be the same weight, but we will find out. Guys, I will see you on another video soon. Thanks for sticking around. Please do drop your thoughts and comments below on how you think this build will turn out. Your guess is as good as mine, and hopefully I do everything properly. Guys, I will see you on another one soon.